Nigeria Air gets operating license. Afrexim Bank and ITFC signed $250 million agreement to finance economic challenges. Fuel subsidy hits 45% import bill in first quarter 2020, says National Bureau of Statistics report. Plus, Brent climbs above $120 per barrel after Saudi Arabia hikes crude prices. This is Business Express on the network service of the NTA, and we are reaching you from Abuja, the nation's capital. I am Musa Abubakar. Now let's begin by telling you that the proposed national carrier for Nigerian Air, has received air transport license from the Nigerian Civil Aviation Authority in preparation for start of operations after receipt of air operator certificate expected soon. The license presented to the interim management of the airline in Abuja enables airlines to provide scheduled and non-scheduled services. It is one of the licenses received by airlines before they can commence operation, just as they await the air operator certificate that fully guarantees them the right to begin air services.
To have strong airlines in Nigeria in view of the single African air transport market and the African continental free trade area, which can make significant contribution to the growth of the Nigerian economy. We have one of the largest markets, if not the largest market in Africa, and we stand to gain the most from this AU Agenda 2063 programs.
One aspect of the entire roadmap project, which, as you know, includes an MRO, which is a maintenance facility, aircraft leasing, a university specifically geared towards educating people in the aviation sector, as opposed to a general university.
The airline, which is expected to start operations soon, is a private sector driven and midwife by government. The national carrier will have only 5% government stake, technical partner about 49%, while about 51% will be acquired by local investors. Now, in the bid to contain issues of fraud in the capital market, as well as reduce to the barest minimum the quantum of unclaimed dividends, capital market participants are to be given unique identifiers. This is part of efforts by the Securities and Exchange Commission to manage identities of participants in the capital market. Director General of the SEC, Lamido Yuguda, says the identity management project already ongoing in the capital market is to ensure that every participant within the capital market has a unique identifier that will be given to them, so all capital market transactions will be secured, leaving very little human intervention in the processing of data. Yuguda said the Commission decided to engage relevant stakeholders in a bid to resolve issues of identity management to tackle the problem of unclaimed dividends. Hence, he said the Commission was currently engaging stakeholders to harmonize various databases of investors and facilitate data accuracy in the market, as well as increasing investors' education to stem the trend amid people buying investments, removing money and getting dividends, among other transactions. Now, the need to set sustainability standard for companies in order to incorporate climate issue into their future economic outlook will fully enhance investors' ability to make more financial informed decisions. Minister of Industry, Trade and Investment Adeni Adebayo gave the stance at a webinar meeting organized by the Financial Reporting Council of Nigeria. Abolade Salami reports.
Climate change is one of the most pressing issues globally as it impacts lives and livelihood of billions of people and affects all parts of the economy. It is on this premise that relevant stakeholders are advocating for urgent response to climate change, which they describe requires comprehensive and mitigated approaches to simultaneously address its social, economic, and environmental consequences. Minister of Industry, Trade and Investment Adeni Adebayo said, globally, there has been a strong call from the G20 leaders, the International Organization of Securities Commission, to develop global standard and disclosure requirements that will facilitate comparable and reliable reporting across various jurisdictions.
Predictions indicate that, that climate change will put at risk around 2% of global financial assets by the year 2100, and this could rise up to 10% under a worst-case scenario. Hence, companies should begin to incorporate strategies that will consider the environmental and social impact of climate change in their overall growth and expansion model.
In streamlining Nigeria's collaborative action on climate-related risk and disclosure, Executive Secretary, Financial Reporting Council of Nigeria, Shuaib Ahmed, says presently, sustainability reporting initiatives exist in silos, while not in existence in most sectors. Therefore, a unified, sustainable approach is inevitable to ensure the current needs are met in comparing performance.
There has been no unified, proactive corporate responsibility practices and the forging of a long-term coordinated approach by both the public and private sectors of the Nigerian economy. Presently, sustainability reporting initiatives exist in silos.
Stakeholders in their submissions alluded to the fact that issues of climate change and its associated risk must not be treated with kid gloves.
We understand the importance of sustainable finance for sustainable development in Africa. NGX regulation is well positioned to lead the capital market to address climate change through effective climate disclosure.
They noted the need for companies involved in capital market activities to recognize sustainability-related risk and opportunities in order to make high demand for transparent, reliable, as well as comparable reporting by organizations on climate, environmental, social, and government-related issues from international investors with global investor portfolio. In Lagos, Abolade Salami.
Thank you, Abolade Salami. The Nigerian Export Promotion Council has signed a memorandum of understanding with the Nigerian Arabian Gulf Chamber of Commerce for the establishment of an export trade house in the Gulf region. Comfort Abadu reports that partnership with the organization is a strategic step by the NEPC to position Nigerian products and produce in global and regional markets towards making Nigeria a trade and investment hub.
That area, products of Nigerian origin are not doing very well there, but we need to sustain that, we need to deepen that, we need to sustain that and capture that market. We have good products, but part of our problem is packaging. And in NEPC, we're building capacity towards that. Packaging is key because you may have a good product. If it's not well packaged, it will never be accepted. Once a product is going out, there are basic certifications that product has to meet. And if it doesn't meet such certifications, that product is likely not to be accepted or even rejected. And so, we're also building capacity towards that to ensure that our products are appreciated or are received internationally.
We're going to engage more intensely now as we are now bonded together towards a single vision to actually come out with a clear-cut roadmap of how to realize the trade house in the Gulf region.
Apart from facilitating trade and enhancing the visibility of Nigerian goods across all the Arabian Gulf countries, the NEPC also seeks to strengthen economic ties with the Gulf states. Our conversation will be centered on efforts at developing food systems that prioritize affordable nutrition that is inclusive, efficient, resilient, and sustainable towards rebuilding the economy, creating jobs, and spurring growth across sectors. Now, joining me is Professor Mohammed Yahaya Kuta, Professor of Agriculture. You're welcome to Business Express.
Good to be here, thank you.
Okay, food inflation has been on a steady rise. So much so that something you buy in the morning might likely increase in the evening. I mean, what's responsible for all this?
I think we must appreciate the changes in the global food system. Nigeria is not in isolation. Okay. You must appreciate that the current war between Russia and Ukraine is a principal factor. And even before then, the Food and Agriculture Organization reported that there was a 21% increase in food prices globally. So it's not only Nigeria that is affected, because we are dealing with changes in the systems. Climate change is a reality that we must appreciate, that when you are dealing with a phenomenon like climate change, you should know that the residual impact will be on agriculture, and that agriculture is at the receiving end, and coupled with conflict at different strata of society occasioned by the demand for, agricultural inputs, changes, and prices soaring every day, and you cannot rule out those possibilities. Nigeria is not living in isolation. So if you look at the immediate impact of Ukraine-Russia war, it has resulted in, before then, Russia and Ukraine, the two countries combined, account for 30% of global wheat supply. Mm. And many countries, about 55 countries in the world, depend on fertilizer supply from these countries. So you remember they were part of one family before the breakaway. So if you look at it, you cannot rule out the impact of conflict generally on the human livelihood, okay, which agriculture is a prominent feature, and a dislocation in the livelihood of many people will explain some of these changes. And we as a nation, Nigeria, is lucky to have at this point in our political history to have a president.
Okay. Besides climate change that you mentioned, Ukraine and Russia, a war, and fertilizer imported from those countries, what happened to local capacity?
Well, that's why I wanted to say that in the point of our national history, we must be appreciative of the changes that is happening in Nigeria, occasioned by the policy thrust of President Muhammad Buhari, and amplified and exceedingly characterized by special interventions by the Central Bank of Nigeria under Godwin Emefiele. We must give kudos to some of these policies that have brought up some of the laudable changes that we are seeing. Most of the moribund fertilizer companies in Nigeria have been revitalized. We are also in partnership with Morocco, that is doing well in our continent. And today you can access fertilizer in Nigeria based on the increased production capacity that been revitalized, and with special thanks to the Food Security Committee of the President Muhammad Buhari that is overseeing these phenomenal changes. And we must give kudos to the special interventions that are coming from the Central Bank of Nigeria for the first time in our history, whereby you can feel the palpable impact of some of those interventions as you witness in the rice production in this country, and you can also see the potential that are enormous. And I believe that the best of Nigeria is yet to come in terms of agriculture, and I know that if we have the priorities right and explore our potentials, we can be the next Taiwan of the world, because the kind of potential that Taiwan has is not up to 50% of what Nigeria has.
But are we doing enough?
Well, that's what I'm saying. That's where I'm going. If you look at the body of waters in Nigeria, take it from Borugu Kingdom across Niger through Jeba to Meringue and then to Kogi State, the confluence, and then you look at Benue, you look at also the Kaduna rivers. There are potentials for producing rice and sugarcane. You can imagine if we are to maximize our sugarcane production, we can begin to think about ethanol. That's just like Brazil. So, but I think what is the next line of action is that we must migrate from the peasant production and subsistence level to large-scale commercial production supported by extensive mechanization, no matter not only the large-scale mechanized equipment, but also the small-scale mechanized equipment to support production, processing, that goes the entire agricultural value chain.
What about the value, other value addition? I mean, added
that's what I'm saying. The entire value chain is something that Nigeria is begging for, and I know just a report taken by Export Promotion Council now shows that Nigeria has a lot of potentials for exporting most of our product, but what is left is finishing and branding, and I can give kudos to...
And standard as well, because
yes,
most of the times our goods get rejected in other countries.
Yes, because we need to address the issue of impunity and sincerity of purpose, and I can tell you confidently I've witnessed the business visa doing the same thing in Abuja, and they are training and investing the potentials of women into different products. I could see kuli production in well packaged that could stand the taste of crackers anywhere in the world. I come from a background in Niger State where kuli production is at its highest level, but the kind of finishing I saw in business visa shows that if you take that kuli crackers to anywhere in the world, they will substitute for cracker biscuits, and in nutrition will also be guaranteed. I can tell you this confidently.
Okay, how much technology do we need now to boost production?
Well, to be honest with you, we are in dire need of a total transformation of our agricultural mechanization system across the entire value chain, from production through even the processing. We need technologies to drive those processes, including sorting and grading. And that I'm sure if we are able to inject technology, it will ease production, enhance massive production, and engaging more people into the sector will not even be an issue, because technology will drive the process. Like in the best of countries, that like Russia and Ukraine we're talking about, not more than 10% of the population involved in agriculture, but they feed the world. And you can imagine when you're talking about 50 countries depending on the product from these two countries. You can imagine
before I let you go, how can we take advantage of the crisis, the ongoing crisis?
Well, I think I have a clarion call to President Muhammad Buhari's government and the CBN to expand the scope of coverage to admit many people in the fold in the intervention areas. We should take advantage of this crisis and let Nigeria be the net exporter of some of these products. We have the massive potential, we have the irrigation facilities, we have demonstrated that we can do it, and I beg on the exploring of some of our agencies like NALDA should be in the front line in assisting in clearing and also supporting farmers in the production at grassroots level, since most of them cannot afford tractors, but we can use the available tractor hiring services at very community levels. Okay. Not also look at our potentials in fish production. Aquaculture in Nigeria is undermined, and our livestock industry is near extinction because of the conflict and lack of technology or research and development. I believe if we invest heavily on research and development in this country, our agricultural sector will hit the roof. Okay. And I have no doubt in my mind, even the conflict between herdsmen and this thing that is going on, if we have an agency to cater for the livestock and fishery sector, it will help Nigeria a lot. Okay. Instead of concentrating on crop-based production, let us also diversify and look at other sectors.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Professor Mohammed.
It's a pleasure.
Thank you for coming to share your thoughts with us.
Thank you.
Moving on, the Central Bank of Nigeria, CBN, has given all loans and credit disbursing financial institutions till the 20th of June 2022 to transmit all their customers' details to the Industry Customer Accounts database. In the circular, the CBN directed all other financial institutions to ensure that all their customer accounts comply with the 10-digit Nigeria Uniform Bank account number format and tag with bank verification number or taxpayer identification number for individual and non-individual accounts of the holder. This same information, the CBN said, is to be profiled on Nigeria Interbank Settlement System PLC Industry Customer Accounts database not later than June 20th, 2022. The CBN noted that these remain the prerequisite for the enrollment onto the credit risk management system. Now, all futures jump on Monday with Brent rising above $120 a barrel after Saudi Arabia hiked prices for its crude sales in July, signaling tight supply even after OPEC Plus agreed to accelerate output increases over the next 2 months. Brent crude was up 91 cents at $120.63 a barrel after touching an intraday high of $121.95, extending a 1.8% gain from Friday. U.S. West Texas Intermediate crude futures were up 93 cents at $119.80 a barrel after earlier hitting a 3-month high of $120.99. It gained 1.7% on Friday. Now let's take a trip to the commodities market. On the stock market, the NGX lost 635 billion naira in the first week of June 2022. Mupiland Akok has the weekly stock market review.
The Nigerian equities market posted losses last week after recording gains in the previous week. Stock market analysts attribute the losses to profit-taking from stocks trading at all-time high, as well as the CBN's increase of the monetary policy rate. The NGX All-Share Index lost 2.18% at 52,908 basis points, with market capitalization down to 28.523 trillion naira. 28.7 billion shares, valued at 209 billion naira, were traded by investors in the week in 23,688 deals. All indices finished lower with the exception of NGX Insurance, AfriDiv Yield and Growth indices, while NGX ASEM and Sovereign Bond indices closed flat. The financial services industry led the activity chart in terms of volume. It was followed by the conglomerates industry and the consumer goods industry. Union Bank, TCNN and FBN Holdings were the top 3 equities traded by volume. They jointly accounted for 27.8 million shares worth 193 billion naira in 1,873 deals. 43,648 units of exchange-traded products ETPs were traded in the week, valued at 987,352 naira in 24 deals, as well as 20,402 units of federal government bonds, valued at 21.4 million naira. 36 equities appreciated in price, 45 equities depreciated, while 75 equities remained unchanged.
Now, it's a positive start on the Nigerian stock market this Monday as the NGX All-Share Index appreciated by 0.34% to 53,086.86 basis points. 755.6 million shares were traded by investors in 4,297 deals valued at 8.9 billion naira, with market capitalization rising to 28.6 trillion naira. And that's it. This is where we end this episode of the program. Don't forget you can access all previous episodes on YouTube. Business Express returns Tuesday at 9:30 a.m.